Hello, YouTube! While I was away travelling for the last 2.5 months around the world, going to Gen Con and a bunch of other stuff, Fancy and I, my deputy and I, we put together a community survey just to kind of understand what the demographics of my community is. How old are you? What time zone are you in? Where do you live? What sort of content do you enjoy? What's your social security number and your mother's maiden name? There's, just harmless sorts of things. Well, here is the results of that survey. Enjoy. We asked the questions. We asked a lot of questions of you. We asked a lot of questions of the community. The first question we asked was, where did you see the poll? We got 784 responses to this poll. The majority of people who answered the questionnaire, that is 40, well, not a majority, but the largest chunk, I should say, the largest percentage of people from a single source was 40.7%, and then 22.4%, and then about 15%, and then the rest. So what do you think? What did people see? Where did people see the poll? The answers, the options are Discord, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Out of those, which do you think is the majority of people who would answer a poll? Not necessarily which of those is my highest community, highest number, but the people who are most likely to engage. Twitch and then Discord? You reckon Discord and then Twitch and then Facebook? You reckon Discord? You reckon Discord? You reckon Twitch? All incorrect. It was YouTube. Which was surprising to me as well. I was expecting it to be Discord. I was expecting the largest percentage of people would be from Discord and then Twitch and then YouTube. But no, apparently my YouTube audience is much more likely to actually answer a question. It's either larger, more willing to engage with polls, or a mixture of both. Because 40.7% of people saw the poll on YouTube, 23% saw it on Instagram, 15% saw it on Twitch. So Discord isn't even on there until 11%. Only 11% of people who answered the poll, that's 85 people. 85 people saw it on Discord. And then pretty much the rest was Facebook. As many people saw it on Facebook as saw it on Discord. Maybe it's just that YouTube's a much bigger audience. I mean, my Twitch is as large as my YouTube, pretty much. I do not believe you. I find that very surprising. Well, I'm looking at the stats in front of me, so belief shouldn't really come into it. What percentage of people did not answer the poll? Not sure, but a huge percentage, because if we got 784 responses and I've got 20,000 subscribers, yeah, a huge percentage of people didn't. All right, next question is, what is your usual location, basically just by continent? What continent is your usual continent? 51% of you are from one continent. 38% of you are from another continent. And then the rest is between all of the other continents. Which one is number one? Which one is number two? You reckon North America and then UK? UK is not a continent. You reckon Europe and then North America? Europe and then North America? Europe and then North America? Most of you are correct. 51% of you are in Europe. 38% of you are from North America. 52%. 6.6%, 52 of you, from Oceania. But surprisingly, we actually have some of the others as well. We've got 3% of you from Asia. So sorry to Marie and whoever else is in Asia based. This is why I don't stream at Asia-friendly times all that often, because what's that? 3% of my audience is... 3% of my audience would benefit from Asia time. And I know that there's like a cause and effect there. If I streamed at Asia-friendly times, maybe I would have more Asia audience, but at the same time, most of the English-speaking world is in North America and Europe and Oceania, which is where my we need to basically you need to push Rob's content to more of your friends. So 3% of my audience is Asia. I've even got 1.5% of my audience from South America. That was 12 people who answered the poll were from South America. And then Africa, there was 5 people who answered the poll that are from Africa. So hello to those 5 people. And anybody else who didn't answer the poll. All right. What time zone are you in? So related to the one above, but now split into time zones. There's obviously not just Europe and North America anymore. So there are 2 time zones that dominate. There are a lot of time zones, obviously, but there are 2 time zones that dominate with a third one that's a clear third. Which are the 2 dominating ones? There is 25%, well, 26%, 20%, and 14% are 1, 2, and 3. GMT and EST, you reckon? GMT's got to be the top one, you reckon? It is UTC +2, Central European Standard Time. So it is actually Europe, like continental Europe time zone, that is the 25%. And then British Standard Time is in place 2. That is the UK time zone. And then Eastern Daylight Time, or the Eastern Time Zone, is actually the 15%. So despite the 38% of you in North America, only 15% of you are on the East Coast. And the Europe being half of the audience makes sense that between Europe and UK is 26% and 20%. Germans better not be messing with your streaming times. How does it make sense if there's not more people in North America answered? That is not what I said, Estelle. I said more people in Europe answered. There's 51% of people from Europe, 38% from North America. All right, those are the 3 that would show up when I did my window share. So I wanted to do that first. There you go. Look, bam. Alrighty. So here's the results of the community. Now, what time zone are you in? There's the different time zones. Look, lots and lots of time zones. The next question required a little finagling because the next question was, what is your gender? We got 735 responses to this one, so about 50 people chose not to answer at all. But it was a text box where you could write your own gender if you wanted to identify as whatever you identify as. Fancy and I weren't about to go to the effort of like looking up every possible gender that somebody could identify as and including it in the list. So we just allowed you to write it yourself. However, that did mean that Fancy then had the extra work of going through and categorizing all of the different things together. If somebody's written female and somebody else has just written an F, and some people have written woman and some people have written female but with a lowercase letter, all of those things need to be put into
since I do enjoy things.
So guesses. What is the gender breakdown of my audience? If we split it into male, female, or non-binary, and trans male, people who identify as trans male are put in just male because they are, and people who identify as trans female are female. So if we go just male, female, and non-binary, what is the percentage breakdown, do you think, of the people who answered my poll? At a guess. The most common change was gender, and then gender with a space at the end. Oh no! People typing MALE or MALE space. Fire Guppy thinks it's 50-50 men and women-ish. Edger thinks it's going to be highest female. Blue the Great thinks 65% female, 35% male. You reckon 85-12-3 Straths. That's a hugely male population. 70-28-2. You reckon female and male and non-binary? Interesting. They look the same. I was losing my mind. Because there's a space at the end. Okay. Interesting. So I'll tell you that I thought it was going to be a female majority with male pretty high up there, and then non-binary I thought was going to be bigger, higher than the sort of global average. And I was surprised on all counts. Mostly female because you thirst trap them. That's why I thought it was going to be mostly female, because I seem to have a very thirsty audience. And until we went to YouTube, it was mostly female. So my Discord and my Instagram are mostly female. However, my YouTube is mostly male, and that brought the average back up to the global average. It is basically 40, I think it's 49, 49, 2 which is and it's about the predominance of non-binary that we see in the world as well. So they are equally represented, not above or below representation, it seems. So let me just pop over here. All right. So we have about 54% male, just behind me here in the screen, unfortunately. About 54% male and about 43% female, with about 2.6% non-binary. So yeah, that was a surprise to me, but hey, that's what we got. I'm very. Did gender fluid go under non-binary? Yeah, just for the sake of like a pie chart that didn't have a million different sections in it for everything that people did. Fancy was like anything that is not put into female or male. Anybody that chose to be gender fluid or non-binary or agendered or any of that sort of thing. It was a catch-all term for just being, because non-binary literally just means not within the binary structure of male or female. So everything that was not within the binary structure of male or female was not binary by definition. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I would have assumed mostly male just because of the typical audience that enjoys D&D, but I failed to compensate for Rob's charisma. Frig, I love stats. Yeah. All right, the next question was, how old are you roughly? How old are you roughly? So, age range. Guesses for age range. What do we think? Can I point out a minor but important distinction? Male and female are not genders, they are sexes. Man and woman are genders. Gender. What gender are you? I'm gender, male. I am a man. Interesting. Yeah, I've never thought about that before. What gender are you? Man. What gender are you? A male. Yeah, I suppose you might be right there. I think you might have been right originally, DM's Workshop. Like that might have been like that would have been correct like 10 years ago, let's say. But I think that with language it changes because of common usage and such. And so I think it's a common usage thing that has changed. So male and female have been referred to as genders for long enough that they are probably genders these days. But yes, I think you're right in a pedantic kind of a way. Knife Eye Attack thinks between 0 and 100. You think I had some 0-year-olds answering the quiz? Ian Benson thinks people in the 30s will come out on top, and then 20s, and then 40s. You reckon 32 to 44 range? 30s, 20s, 40s. Probably more in their 20s than their 40s. 24 to 30, 31 to 40 in the rest. Guessing somewhere around the 30s average. All right, well, let's have a look, shall we? If we go back to this one and we go across to age. Boop. Age distribution. Here it is. Thank you to Fancy for all of the amazing graphs, by the way. Of course. Because graphs are everything. So, I did have some amount of people coming from the 0 to 20 range and some amount of people from the 60 and above range. Good job, those people. We have some amount of people from the 50s to 56 and above, and 50s and above, and so on. But, as predicted by most of you, early 30s and late 30s were my highest. So, those who said 30s first were correct, followed by 20s was correct, and then followed by 40s was correct. However, if you break it down by fives, as is done here, then you would get that the early 40s actually slightly outweighs the late 20s. So it would go early 30s, late 30s, early 40s, late 20s, early 20s, late 40s, early 50s, and then everyone else. All right. That is this one, grand total versus age. So the age of my audience is mostly 30s, essentially. Which is kind of what I was expecting. No major surprises for me on that one. What was the mode of the ages? I'm not actually sure. You'd have to ask Fancy for the data breakdown of like the median, the mean, and the mode. I'm sure she'd be happy with that. She likes the data analysis stuff. All right. The next question was, how did you find Rob? Not like Oh, he was pretty good. But like, how did you initially come across Rob and his work? VLDL, appearance on someone else's stream, raid from another streamer, recommended by the YouTube algorithm, recommended by a friend, saw him mentioned online, met him in person, watching a lot of different D&D channels, met him in Utah, winter is passing, from home games, YouTube D&D, on Twitch, and then just it devolved into single answers of people saying that sort of shit. So out of those, obviously VLDL is going to be in the lead by far. That's not a surprise to anybody. Everybody knows that most people found me through VLDL. But the question is, you found me through OnlyFans. The question is, what percentage? What percentage of people found me through VLDL rather than appearance on someone else's stream, raid from another streamer, recommended by YouTube algorithm, etc.? You reckon 51% of people found me through VLDL, 65, 69, nice, 50, 85. Trying to find him through Kick. 75% Viva. 70%, 60%, 91%, Maddie Holmes says. I will tell you, I was surprised and a little disappointed at what the figure was. $60 to 65%, 75% to 80%. Toduk says then it's 99%. Not quite that surprised, but you are closest. It is 97%. 97% of my audience found me through VLDL. And only 3%, so just under 97%, 3% found me from a stream on somebody else's one-shot or panel. Sorry, not even 3%, just 0.4%, 3 people. 0.6% recommended by a friend, 0.3% from a raid. Just absolutely nothing. And unfortunately for me, this just tells me, like, what the fuck is the point? What is the point in raiding? What is the point in doing collabs with people? What is the point in getting yourself out there, doing panels at conventions and meeting people and doing meet and greets and doing like crossovers? And what is the point if you're doing all of that and only less than 1%, for most of them less than 0.5% is actually leading to somebody finding you? It's like, man, how am I meant to ever grow outside of Viva La Dirt League? How am I meant to grow my own brand? How am I meant to get out there and tell people, hey, I'm a guy that makes things, and I happen to work with Viva La Dirt League? It's kind of disheartening, unfortunately. It's not entirely surprising VLDL was well established before you started doing D&D with them. I'm sure your own organic growth will increase as you keep doing your own content. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised by this graph if it was my first year streaming DM's Workshop. But I've been doing streaming professionally for nearly 5 years now. And I've been making content on YouTube. And I've been meeting people at conventions. And I've been streaming with other people. And I've been doing crossovers. And I've been doing raids. And after 5 years of growth, this is the growth that I've gotten outside of Viva. It's just disappointing. I'm not surprised. I was expecting it to be like 92%. I was just not expecting it to be like 97%. I have found others through you too, and I stayed for you. Thank you, Anne. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to stop doing all of the things that I've been doing, because most of the time I'm doing it just for me anyway. And to be fair, it's only like 800 responses. Yeah, that's also true. Add another question. Who do you care more about now, you or Viva La Dirt League? Content creation is a tough business. Just the fact that you're able to make a living at it puts you beyond. Oh, I'm not complaining. I don't want to seem ungrateful. Like I'm perfectly happy and fine with my audience coming from wherever they come from. As long as they find me and they stick around. That's perfectly fine. But also just like it's just kind of, man, I just wanted it to be higher than that. By this point of my raids and stuff, I would have liked for more people to have found me through my own work at this point. found you through Viva, but I'm going through all your content that you've previously done. Well, thank you, Macabre. I also recognize that the question is just how did you find me, and most people will find me through Viva, but they'll stick around because of me. They'll stick around for the work that I do. I understand that. Point is retention. Maybe they find you through Viva but stay for you. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm not complaining. I just like. I'm not ungrateful for people finding me through Viva. That I acknowledge that it's an incredible springboard to launch my platform from. I guess with YouTube being the highest responders, that shifted the numbers to selection bias. Yeah, it is a little bit of that as well. Anyway, next question is, what content of Rob's do you watch? New adventurer joins the team. Thank you, Shash for joining the team. Is a numbers game, right? VLDL is just larger? Yeah, that's what it is. You also have to remember that, what was that? Remember that in the amount of people who found you through Viva are also the people who have been there since your streaming beginnings. Yeah, that is also a very good point to remember. Mythical, yeah. Twitch is an internet-captured audience, and YouTube feels like introductions to Twitch, but Twitch will only feed into Twitch. Yes, and that's one of the other things that we've discovered through this survey. Fancy and I were doing an analysis of the survey, and we discovered that there is no crossover, which we'll get to later in the stats. But like, there's very little crossover. People on Twitch watch Twitch, people on YouTube watch YouTube, and never the twain shall cross, which is interesting and fascinating, and has led to us deciding to do certain things slightly differently with our business model here. Anyway, which content of Rob's do you watch? BTS of Azurim, BTS of the Misfits, Twitch Tales world building, short rests, guest appearances, YouTube shorts. What do we think the sort of breakdown is? Boop boop boop. Boop, boop, boop. All of it? All of the above. Yeah. What's going to be first? The thing that people watch more than anything else of my content. Alright. As people expect, obviously BTS of Azurim and Misfits is way and above the largest things that people watch of my content. But the next question is, what comes in third place? Twitch Tales? Short rests, YouTube shorts, world building, my guest appearances on other people's channels. You reckon Twitch Tales is third? You reckon shorts is third? Shorts are third. So my YouTube shorts are in third place, and my world building is in last place. So about almost everyone who answered the question watches my BTS of the Adventures of Azurim. About 80% of people who answered the poll watch my BTS of the Misfits campaign. About 71% of them watch my YouTube Shorts series, which is definitely good to know, because I do have some more YouTube Shorts series ideas that I want to do, and I want to get back to my Score Skill Swap series as well. Interesting to find out that less than a third of the people who answered the quiz, they answered the survey, actually watched Twitch Tales. Not surprising. I knew that it would be less than half of you, but I was surprised that it was as low as less than a third of you. Given that it's skewed by YouTube responses, I'm not surprised. Yeah. And then we had short rests and guest appearances, and then only about a sixth of people watch any of my world building stuff. But that's still a sixth. That's still a sixth of my audience still watch my world building stuff, which is great. Oh man, y'all need to get into Twitch Tales more. Yeah, it's great. Don't have time to keep up with Twitch Tales, and there's so many streams to watch in such different time zones. I don't begrudge anybody for not watching it. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, why aren't you fucking watching my thing? I put so much effort in. Like, I get it. There's so many content creators that I'm like best friends with that I haven't seen any of their shit, because it's like I don't have time. I don't have time to watch it. There's so much content out there. So I completely get it. Like, Twitch Tales is a long commitment. I was expecting that my audience was more than a third of people watched it. I thought it was going to be around 35 to 40% of people watched it, and it's 33 at most. Anyway, do you work in a creative field? There is just yes, no, or somewhat. What do you think the breakdown is of yes, no, and somewhat for the people who answered my question about do you work in a creative field? Is it good bang for buck then? No, it takes a lot of time and energy for Twitch Tales and only third watch it. At the moment, Twitch Tales isn't like a return on investment. No, absolutely not. Because like as a stream, it doesn't earn me much in the way of bits, subs, and donations because I'm interacting with the chat, but in a way that's like in a story, and people aren't thinking, oh, I'm gonna give him a sub, I'm gonna give him bits, I'm gonna give him like it doesn't. I don't have. I deliberately, for Twitch Tales, don't want people to be able to be like, oh, I give 100 bits so that we can have a reroll, and I give 10 subs so that we can whatever. I don't want your bits and subs and stuff to influence the story. And so the Twitch Tales doesn't earn me money as a stream so much. Like when I start the stream, people go, oh, yeah, I'm prompted to resubscribe. And so it's a good plodding along kind of reminder to people to continue subbing on Twitch and things. But otherwise, the stream itself doesn't earn money for the duration of the stream. And then when I have taken it down and Fancy's edited it and put it up on YouTube, it only gets like a couple of hundred views, which is nothing for YouTube ad revenue. So in terms of return on investment, Twitch Tales is definitely a loss leader essentially, but it's still fun for me to do. I still enjoy it, and I don't want to disappoint the third of my audience that does actually watch it because it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable for them, and so I do it. All right. So 60% no, 25% somewhat, and 15% yes is Keyboard Smashed's guess, and that is pretty much exactly. That was Nival Shade's guess, and that is pretty much exactly right, Nival Shade. That's a very impressive breakdown. 57% of people do not work in a creative field by their own admission. About a quarter of them somewhat in a creative field, and 17% no, not in a creative field. The next question is, what is your main creative outlet? What is your main creative outlet? Is it your job? Is it your job and hobbies? Is it your job is a small amount but you have a number of creative hobbies? Is it that your job is not creative at all, but you do have a number of creative hobbies? Or is it being creative is not important to me? Or a whole bunch of other things that we allowed for a text box here, and we're not going to go through and like add them all into particular categories. Amber's repping the yes. Nice. Hobbies is most people's main creative outlet, you reckon? What was your definition of creative when you guys wrote the question? We didn't define it. We allowed that to be open to your own definition. By your own interpretation, are you in a creative field? Do you feel like your job is creative? If you're a maths lecturer, but you have to be creative to sort of catch the interest of your university students, then if you choose to say that you're creative as a maths lecturer, then absolutely. Likewise, if you're a painter but you feel like it's not a creative industry for whatever reason, then that's up to you. All right. So the answer to this one was 39% of people said my job is not creative, but I have a number of creative hobbies. So correct, hobbies was top. A quarter of people said my job is a small amount creative, but I have a number of creative hobbies. So basically that's lining up with this and this of the no and somewhat. There were a good 14% of people said both my job and hobbies are creative. And 12% of people said being creative is not important to me, which is really interesting. 12% of people, 88 people who answer the question are like, nah, I don't care about being creative. Which is, as a creative person, as someone who has always prided myself on being creative, it's really interesting to hear that that's just not something that interests a lot of people. I think people watch Azrim because it's VOD only. Twitch Tales is also super fun, but the problem is it's much more fun live than VOD. Yeah. Is there a hole in the chat? No, no, there's not a hole in it. There are 1,000 different individual answers because it was a text box, so people could write what they wanted. I can only wish to be creative. I sadly don't have free time to be able to do much. Writing. Honestly, I don't really know. It kind of pends between my job and spare time hobbies. Seldom they overlap, so it's usually either. I could argue that it's not the correct... and so on. I could just... yeah, it was a lot of different possible answers. And then 22 people, 3% of people said my job is my creative outlet. I didn't answer that, by the way. As someone who's logician personality-wise, I get why. Fair enough. I mean, I didn't answer that way. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I read that wrong. I really enjoy being creative, so it's surprising. Maybe more a lack of time to try and be creative. I'm a scientist, by the way. I work at the Academy of Sciences. True, you will laugh when you find out my salary, $154. I don't think you work at an academy if you're on $154 a year. Did the 11.5% that creative is not important surprise you, Fancy? It says Commander Steel. Some people enjoy enjoying other people's creativity. Yeah, I get that. Like, being creative myself isn't important. I enjoy other people's creativity. This question assumes one has a job. Do you work? No, because if you don't work, then you don't work in a creative field, so you don't have a creative thing. This one is about a job, this one's about a job, and this one's a job. This one's about a job. So yeah, you might be right that it's like, I don't have a job, so just my hobbies. Alright, next one. Oops, kind of gave that one away, I'm sorry. Which of these would you consider your main hobbies? So, which is the main hobby? I'll try. God damn it, I mean to keep scrolling. We have options such as LARPing or similar, playing TTRPGs, crafting, creating art, playing video games, watching long-form video content, i.e. YouTube, listening to podcasts, watching Twitch streams, and so on and so on and so on. I predict number one's playing video games. You think it'll be about 592 people playing video games? Fuckers. You could have just pretended to have not seen it so that the people who didn't see it aren't ruined. The question will be, what comes in second place? Because you didn't get to see that one, you twats. You fucking dirt hats. You're all dirt hats. What comes in second place? Are we supposed to spoiler that? You reckon reading? Making useless shit with 3D printers? That's in second place. That's the majority of people selected making useless shit with 3D printers. Videos or TTRPGs, you reckon? Alright, so the answer is playing video games came in top with 592. That's an incredibly amazing guess from you there. Yes, 592 people. For 592 people, that's 76% of the audience that answered. Their main hobbies was playing video games. The second is watching TTRPG content. Interesting that people who follow a TTRPG content creator list watching TTRPG content as their one of their main hobbies. Your neighbor was looking for the option destroying my garden. The third most common answer was watching long-form video content. Who'd have thunk it? Followed by playing TTRPGs. Followed by playing board games. Listening to podcasts. Crafting, creating art, or 3D printing. There you go, there's your 3D printing option. Scrolling on YouTube Shorts and Insta Reels and TikTok. Watching Twitch streams. Relatively low. 25% of my audience list watching Twitch streams as one of their main hobbies. Miniature painting or terrain painting, and then quite a drop off to LARP or similar, and then reading is only 2% of my audience. And then of course it was a open text box, so writing, sports, all sorts of things. All the way down to like all of these people who just put ones in everything. 75 people put just other. Horsies, yeah. Okay, next question. If you ticked playing TTRPGs, how often do you play them? The answers are multiple times a week, weekly, every few weeks, every few months, yearly, I want to but I haven't found a group yet, or not often or not at all. What do you think is the majority category? There are two majority categories, or two largest categories, which is 23% and 22%. You'd say that weekly games would be leading, and every few months and haven't found the group yet? I guess I'd assume that most people who play are scheduled to play weekly and then meet up once a month. Alright, the answers are, as shown. We had the largest category is every few weeks, and followed by weekly. So every few weeks and weekly lead the chart in how often people actually play TTRPGs, followed by I want to but I haven't found a group yet, a good 20% of people. And then there's not at all. So this thing interested me. The wording of this question was, which of these would you consider your main hobbies playing TTRPGs? If you ticked playing TTRPG as one of your main hobbies, 11% of you then went on to tick I don't play TTRPGs. It's one of your main hobbies, but you don't play TTRPGs. That is sad. That is really sad. That you consider it one of your main hobbies, but don't do it. Which I can understand. It's not nearly as like oxymoronic as you might think, if you think about it. Like, I could consider, like, oh, I absolutely love rock climbing, and I've been rock climbing a million times. I don't know why I always go to rock climbing as an example. I love watercolor painting, right? Watercolor painting is one of my favorite things to do. How often do I do it? If I look back, man, I haven't actually given myself time to do my hobby in like 2 years. I haven't done watercoloring in 2 years. Like, I can get it, but it also is very sad that you still consider it one of your main hobbies and don't do it anymore. It bothers me that these pie slices aren't arranged in order. I mean, they are in order. They're in order of the way that they were presented here. Well, that's satisfying. You get to see the thing. I'll roll around it. 415 people said that they played, but 605 answered the question. Interesting. Playing TTRPGs, 415. So 415 people considered playing TTRPGs one of their main hobbies. And then 605 people answered this question. Fucking people. You can't trust people to read a fucking question properly. Everything everywhere is in some sort of order, just not a clear one. That is a good point. I consider choir singing one of my main hobbies, but I haven't sung in a choir in over a year now. You see, I think we just differ in how we interpret that question. If I don't do something anymore, even if I loved it at the time, I wouldn't consider it a main hobby. Like Lego, I as a kid love Lego. When I got into doing Lego D&D and using Lego pieces to create miniatures and stuff, love that shit. Whenever I see Lego, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I get excitement and dopamine released from Lego and Lego based things. But when was the last time you played with Lego? Like, actually just played with Lego? A year and a half ago. And would I consider playing with Lego to be a main hobby? No, absolutely not, because I haven't done it in a year and a half. Would I consider video games to be one of my main hobbies? I mean, not really, because I don't give myself time to do it. I feel like if I don't have time to do something, then I I don't do it. If you're playing TTRPGs, how do you play them? In person, on Twitch, or online with friends and family? What do you reckon? I love tennis and consider it a main hobby, but I haven't been able to play it in a while because of an injury. Oh, I feel like that's different. Like if you physically can't play it because of like you're wanting to get back to it, but you are on hiatus from it. Like during a pandemic, I could understand being like, oh, we're locked down, so I can't do this thing, but it is still one of my main hobbies. But then I would answer the second question of how often do you play them? I'd be like, under normal circumstances, how often do you play TTRPGs? Like every week. Obviously not for a while now because of university getting in the way or whatever, but when given the opportunity, I do it every few weeks. Like I would answer how it would be. All right, so most people prefer to play TTRPGs online, in person, followed by online, and then only 7% of people said that they are interested in that they do play TTRPGs through Twitch, like Twitch Tales and D&D live plays and stuff. It's about what I expected. No surprises there. Next question is: if you are playing TTRPGs, is it with the same group all the time? This got 444 responses. 442 responses. So closer to the people that actually said they did play TTRPGs as one of their main hobbies. Is Rob going to play the big Lego set D&D though? I am. Yes, I need to remind myself to actually buy it. Yes, we have played D&D for ages, is one of the categories, followed by I have a few groups that all run games. I have had games with different people. I tend to play at local game stores, or I play chat plays D&D, and then a whole bunch of their own questions. What do we reckon? 40% of people, if you are playing TTRPGs, is it with the same group? 40% of people, yes, you just use the same group. Another 30% of people on top of that is I have a few groups that all run games. I would fall into that category personally if I was answering this question. If you're playing TTRPGs, is it with the same group? No, it's not always with the same group, but it is with the same group of friends. Like I have this group of friends that I play these games with, and I have this group of friends that I play these games with, and so on. Next question: if you both play and watch TTRPGs, which do you prefer to do? Do people prefer to watch TTRPGs or play TTRPGs? If they are doing both. And obviously, what sort of a breakdown? What sort of a breakdown in numbers are we looking at there? Can't play D&D while I'm cleaning my room. Yeah. Play will be bigger by a huge margin. Is it like 95% to 5%, or is it like 55 to 45? What do we think? You reckon 75-25? Hey, you're not far off, Marvelous. You're not far off at all. It is 78% of people prefer to play TTRPGs, 22% prefer to watch them. Which is really interesting. I personally would prefer to play TTRPGs than watch TTRPGs, but yeah, if your group is not all that fun, I can understand preferring to watch them because you're watching somebody who's a professional at it and it's more enjoyable and entertaining. And the people who don't understand the question, 15%. If you are not playing TTRPGs currently, is there a reason? What do you reckon the highest reason is for not currently playing TTRPGs? Can't find a group, scheduling issues, or no time. You are correct. Those are the major ones. So the top one is I really want to but can't find a group, followed by I've played before but don't have a group, which is the same fucking answer. I really want to but can't find a group, and I've played before but don't have a group. So those two can basically be combined, and we've got 50% and 24%. So the vast majority of people who want to play but can't is because they don't have a group. Which is why services like Start Playing are fantastic. This is not sponsored by Start Playing. I'm friends with the guy who owns it, so I'm happy to talk about it. Find a group. Go to a game store or find one online. The next most populous answer is I don't have enough time, which is what you guys said as well. Like, I don't have enough time. So between I don't have a group and I don't have the time, that's pretty much all of the answers. Followed by I just prefer watching. Like, if I'm not playing, it's because I just prefer to watch it. That's also perfectly valid, and about 13% of people there. And then, unfortunately, really breaks my heart to see 3% of people said, I've had a bad experience when I've played before and I'm just not interested in playing again. Not at the moment. Which is like, oh no. Bad experiences can put people off playing. Put people off even wanting to play. I've no interest in playing or watching. So if you are not playing, is there a reason? Because I've got no interest in playing. Fair enough. Next one, definitely didn't spoil that. What sort of TTRPG items do you buy? So if you are going to be doing some merch purchasing, what sort of items are you buying? 69 nice 9 responses. He likes to watch. Sandra voice. Nice. You reckon dice is at the top for sure? Books would be the largest, and then dice, and then terrain stuff. You reckon books, then dice, then terrain, maybe? Click, clack, math rocks, dice. Dice is the only physical item I had. Dice goblin, dice support. Yeah, check out that dice goblin Kickstarter while we're talking about dice. You reckon books probably in place 2 or 3? Alright, well, to reveal, dice are indeed in first place with about 68-ish% of people who responded saying that dice is one of the things that they buy. In second place was source books. So correct, books are in second place. About 58% of people buy source books, that is Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, third-party content, etc. In third place, joint third place, is miniatures, tabletop accessories like dice mats and challenge coins, and merch-themed clothing. So dice, source books, minis, accessories, and clothes. Those are the top 5 things that people buy. Followed by adventure modules, so books again, crafting supplies like minis and glue, mini paint and glue and cardboard and things. I don't buy anything. So what sort of items do you buy? Nothing. Cosplay costume stuff, terrain things is actually a lot lower than some people thought it would be, and then related novels like Dragonlance fiction. There you go. And then of course all of these text box things that were included separately. Alright, watch habits. In the last 6 months, on average, how much general content, not just TTRPG content, how much general content do you consume across all platforms in a week? So this includes scrolling on TikTok and Insta, this includes actual YouTube videos, this includes watching TED Talks. How much content do you generally consume in a week? Is it none? Is it under 2 hours? Is it 2 to 5 hours, 5 to 10 hours, 10 to 20 hours, 20 to 40 hours, or over 40 hours? Oh my god, don't make me count. Everyone lied on this question. How much content? Yes. This question in particular, like personally called me out. Too many hours, that's how many. You reckon it'll be the oh my god, don't make me count? Okay, here is the answer. It is, majority of people answered 10 to 20 hours. Well, pretty much joint first is 10 to 20 and 20 to 40. So people watched between 10 and 40 hours of content a week. Followed by 5 to 10, followed closely by over 40, don't make me count, and 2 to 5. So it is a pretty wide spread because it's almost as many people as saying 2 to 5 hours of content a week as people saying 16% of people saying, oh my god, more than 40. No joke, I almost got fired because I got busted listening to D&D Twitch streamers at work. Jesus, Maddie, don't get fired because of it. You can always watch a VOD later. My boss berates me weekly with this stat. If you lose your job, you have more time to watch D&D Twitch streams. Exactly. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of people are consuming a lot of hours of content, which is fantastic. In the last 6 months, on average, how much of the general content is TTRPG related? So yes, you may be watching over 40 hours of content across all platforms, but how much of that is TTRPG related? What do you reckon? Under 2 hours, 2 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 40, or over 40, don't make me count. The joy of Twitch is interacting with the streamer live. The VOD doesn't hit the same. I understand that, but also if you're at work, if you're secretly listening at work and you're just lurking when working, then it's the same as just watching the VOD, surely. What do you guys think? Last 6 months, how much is TTRPG related? You'd say it's a similar breakdown? Hard to guess with this one. My meta glasses help me to watch at work and I interact with the chat when I can. That's fair enough. The answer to this one is it's a little bit more of a skew. It's the same color coordination as the one above it, but it is a skew downwards, as you'd expect. Because if you watch, you can only watch downwards from the one above, right? You can't watch more content of TTRPG than content that you watch. It has to be a strict subset of the previous question. So you'd expect it to be slightly skewed lower, which it is. So interestingly, about a third of people who responded said that it's only 2 to 5 hours of TTRPG content a week that they watch, and then they probably watch like 10 to 40 hours of something else as well. But there is still a huge chunk of people saying 5 to 10 or 10 to 20. Moving on, do you tend to keep up to date or binge content? Do you tend to stay up to date with the stuff you're watching or binge content? The options are stay up to date with the main people that I follow. Mostly stay up to date with the main people I follow, but I've had to catch up a bit before. I just watch stuff whenever I can and I don't worry about staying up to date with it. Or I only binge the content, so I'll wait for things to be finished or completed and then have a lot of episodes before watching. You expect most people are saying stay up to date? Mythical saying that they expect the binge category to be a lot. Every binge has become up to date eventually. Yeah, but like it's a different way of watching, right? It says do you keep up to date or binging? Like do you stay up to date as they're coming out, or do you wait for a whole bunch to come out and then binge to get up to date? It's not. They get up to date, but they don't stay up to date. Is the difference? Up to date's best so you can engage with fandom without spoilers. Yeah, I agree. When I get into something, I get into it in a big way. I enjoy all of the supplemental shit that goes with it. Like if I'm really enjoying a video game, I'll start watching other people play the video game, and I'll start reading Reddit threads about the video game, and I'll look at artwork of the video. I'll like other stuff around it, right? Same with the TV show or whatever. And it's really hard to do that if you are not up to date with a thing, because you're like, oh man, I really want to look up that thing on Wikipedia to understand the lore behind that particular character that was just introduced in the last episode. But if I do that and find out in the first sentence that they died in the next season, I'm like, fuck, I've just spoiled it for myself. Trying to keep up to date, but not always possible. Up to date by binging initially, etc. Alright, so this one did not surprise me at all. It is basically what I expected, with most people saying that they mainly stay up to date, but they've had to catch up before because life gets in the way and you get a few weeks behind and then you binge to catch up again. Quite a few people saying that they just stay up to date. They don't have to binge it usually. Their lifestyle allows for them to keep up to date. And then a huge chunk of people saying that they just watch stuff whenever they can and they don't worry about being up to date at all. And a very small amount of people saying that they specifically wait until they can binge it, which is a different way of doing things. It doesn't super surprise me, but I was expecting that wedge to be a little bit bigger. A lot of binge watchers probably missed the poll. That's a very good point, Cinehouse. Like, the poll being out on YouTube, by definition, is going to grab people who are staying up to date with my YouTube. People that the algorithm have gone, oh, every time he puts something out, they watch it. So he's just put this poll out, so we're going to push it to them so that they can see it. Whereas if you are a binge watcher of my stuff and you don't watch something for a year and then you're like, oh yeah, I wonder if Rob's put anything more out, and you binge it, then you're less likely for the YouTube algorithm to push the poll to you in the first place. The only time I intentionally binge it is if the total content is like 10 or less. Interesting, right? All right, next question. When new content drops from one of your top content creators, how quickly do you watch the content? Within minutes of release, I stop everything to watch it. Within hours of release, I'll watch it as soon as I'm free. Within days of release, I'll watch it soon after release. Within a week of the release, I like to stay up to date, so I'll watch it at some point. Or I tend to binge a few episodes to catch up, or I mainly just binge the content. I reckon most people say within hours. Poobert says seconds to days. Most people say within hours, within days, hours and then days. Alright, you are correct. It is mostly people saying within hours of release, followed by within days of release. Very few people say that even their top content creator, because this isn't about me, this is about when someone that you consider your top content creators releases a video, do you drop everything to watch it? Very few people saying that. Most people saying, yeah, I'll watch it as soon as I'm free, then within a couple of days, and then within a week. So most people are watching between hours of release and a week of release, which is how you'd expect it to be, really. Next question is, do you rewatch content? This was going to be an interesting one for me. I needed to know, do people actually rewatch stuff? So if they watch it on Twitch, do they watch it again when it hits YouTube, for instance? So the answers to do you rewatch content is yes, all the time. I will when I'm bored and I want something to watch. No, I will start on content from a new creator instead. No, I'll just wait for new content from that creator. And then no, not generally, blah, blah, blah. A whole bunch of other options. It seems like it was a text box. Myself, personally, I would probably be in the no, I'll start on content from a new creator instead category. There's occasionally things that I will rewatch, like, but it'll be like specific things that have come to my mind, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a funny joke. I'll go and watch that guy's that guy's stand up again or something. Or I'll try and find a particular clip that I wanted to show somebody or something like that. But majority of time for me, if I want something, I'll be like, I've already watched that. I'll watch something else new. But I am in the minority for that because 35% of people say I'll rewatch something when I'm bored and I want something to watch. And then a huge chunk, 27%, said yes, they rewatch stuff all the time. And then a big chunk of people say, no, I'll just wait for new content. Things that I can fall to sleep get rewatched all the time. That's a very good point. Yeah, rewatching stuff that you can just fall asleep to. I'll rewatch if there's new context for it, like BTS. Oh, interesting. Yeah, go back and rewatch the BTSs now that we've got new context for things that happen later. For Twitch content, do you tend to watch streams live or watch the VODs later? The categories are try and catch them live, I watch the stream on the VOD, a mixture of live and VOD depending on how my week's looking, and I just wait for the content to be edited and up on YouTube. The neurotypical tendency to watch safety shows. Yeah, man, that's something I've never been able to understand before I knew that I wasn't neurotypical. Like, people who just watch Friends over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Like, I could quote pretty much every Friends line that has been said, because I've seen it a bunch of times, but not so much that some other people do. Like, some people will just start rewatching it again as soon as they get to the end of it. Like, but you've just there's so much else out there you can watch. You reckon a mixture, live, VOD for double speed, mixture of live and VOD, try and catch it live, mix, live if possible, etc. Alright, so the answer to this one is... Most people wait for the content to be edited and on YouTube. So, this is where the answers started to come into really interest Fancy and I, because we put the poll out on Discord and Twitch quite early. We put it up on Instagram, and then eventually we got around to putting it on YouTube. And so a lot of the answers had already rolled in from Twitch and Discord before we got to YouTube, and then and the answers were looking quite different for a lot of these things. And then YouTube came in, and whatever it was, like 40% of my my answers came from my YouTube audience, and so suddenly this green section hugely grew, and so it seemed to us, oh shit, most of my YouTube audience aren't watching Twitch or Twitch VODs. Even if they know that my content is coming from Twitch, they're just waiting for it to come up to YouTube, which was really interesting to me because I'm like, okay, so it's not a waste of time to do Twitch Tales and then put it on YouTube, because that was something that was concerning me for a while. I was like, is it even worth us doing, like editing it and putting it up on YouTube? All that time and effort and money that we're spending on like editing those videos for YouTube, are people watching it? Are people waiting for it? Apparently yes. Apparently YouTube don't watch Twitch, and Twitch don't bother watching YouTube, because the will you rewatch stuff was not as high as we thought for people rewatching Twitch stuff. So the people who watch on Twitch will just watch the VOD on Twitch and then not watch it again. And the people who watch on YouTube will wait for it to go to YouTube. So it's not really a huge crossover. Yeah, and vice versa as well. Before the YouTube people came out, the green was basically non-existent. Like people who were from the Twitch and Discord part of the survey results were not the ones that are watching on YouTube. They don't bother going to YouTube to watch something later. And obviously some of you will be exceptions. You'll be like, but I'm on YouTube and Twitch all the time. Yeah, I get it. But like, you're not the majority. Twitch Tales on YouTube is great. The editing makes a difference when you're not going to be live interacting. Oh, 100%. Yeah, Fancy's doing a fantastic job of editing. I used to do it myself for the first like 20 episodes or something. First 20, 30 episodes of Twitch Tales, I was editing them all, and it was the majority of my work week was editing Twitch Tales. So when Fancy came on board, I was happy to delegate that task. And for the next, like, how many would you say, Fancy? Like 10, 20 episodes? Like, I was checking each one's edit, like going through them and actually like giving you notes and being like, oh, I would do it this way and like extend this bit out, or cut this feels a bit too much of a cut, etc. And little by little, I just had to give you fewer and fewer notes as you just learned my style of editing, I guess. I don't know, or just got better at editing yourself as well, just through practice. And little by little, I just started getting to the point where I was like, I now can trust that you've done a job that's good enough, and you can just export it and upload it and whatever directly. So, thankfully, it took a lot of my work off of my plate by doing that way. And it's amazing how much gets cut out. Like in a live Twitch Tales, it could be like a 4-hour episode, but that includes the starting soon time, which can be like 20 minutes sometimes. And then it's like all of my preamble chatting at the top for another 20 minutes or something before we jump into the actual stream. And then once we're in the stream, there's occasionally times that I'll like stumble or something. I'll just take that again just so that it's clean for the edit later. And then there's the waiting for the poll answers to come in. And there's the repeating myself. And if somebody raids in, I have to explain what Twitch Tales is. And then there's like rolling for stuff, and then there's like preferential voting, where it's like, okay, we're voting on this thing, and then none of them got a majority, so we're going to drop off the 2 bottom answers and just go again. Okay, this one comes into, we can cut all of that and just go from, all right, we're going to do a poll to see what Apis wants to do next. 73% of you want to do this thing, and it cuts out. And so quite often Twitch Tales goes from like a 4+ hour stream to like less than a 2-hour video, which hopefully makes it less off-putting for people on YouTube to jump in and watch it, because as off-putting as I'm sure it looks to go like, oh shit, a 2-hour video, it would be even more so if it was like, oh shit, a 4.5-hour video. Is it important for your stats how much of a YouTube video I watch? Because I often just check out fight maps, etc., and then return to listening as a podcast instead. It's not important enough to me to ask you to change your behaviors, Annie. You should enjoy the content in the way that you enjoy the content, and don't worry about it. YouTube algorithm is analyzing all of those things, yes, but you shouldn't worry. You shouldn't worry about that. I didn't realize they were so much shorter. I'll have to see if I can cram them back into my schedule. Yeah, it's a very different beast. Like, as much as it is a Twitch VOD of a live interactive stream, it is its own thing once it gets to YouTube because it is a story. At that point, it is an audiobook, essentially. You can hear me asking things of the audience, and you can't necessarily interact like the audience can. But it is a more streamlined process with a more just fluid dynamic to the whole thing. Any random chat is removed. Yeah, often Fancy will take out just me repeating exposition, because if it is 3 hours later in the stream, a lot of new people will have joined the stream, so I'll need to do an exposition of the stuff that I've already talked about earlier in the stream. And so Fancy can cut that out in the YouTube VOD, in the YouTube video, because if you're watching a video, you don't need repeated exposition because you're presumably there from the beginning. Yeah, that's a good point, Maddie. It's daunting to imagine the stamina required to stream for more than 4 hours at a time. Mate, I routinely do more than four hours at a time with Twitch Tales. Sometimes my charisma checks used to go like 12 hours or something, right? What was my longest ever charisma check? Anyway, where did we get to? Next one is, if you watched something on Twitch, will you rewatch it when it hits YouTube? So even more definitive response to the question we were asking about, is there switch over between Twitch and YouTube? I've kind of given the game away on this one a little bit by talking about it, but what do you think? If you watched something on Twitch, will you rewatch it when it hits YouTube? The answers are yes. I will tend to binge the whole series again at some point. Sometimes if it was really epic, and no. The answer is vast majority of people just saying, I'll sometimes rewatch it if it was really epic. So like, for instance, certain, I won't spoil anything if anybody hasn't actually caught up with Twitch Tales yet, but certain events, usually at like the end of an arc, when you've defeated like a big monster, or you've done something really cool, or I've done a really cool description of something, people will go to Twitch to rewatch that. But otherwise, no. The Twitch audience are saying, nah, I won't rewatch it when it goes to YouTube because I've already seen it on Twitch. And then 15% of people saying, yes, I'll rewatch stuff. And then only 10% of people saying, yeah, I'll at some point in the future, I'll probably binge watch the whole thing again on YouTube. This is refreshing, a bit down the rabbit hole. Yeah. Step 1, play Twitch Tales live and panic about poll choices. Step 2, go back and rewatch on YouTube to listen for the hints and lore drops and mysterious mysteries. Nice. All right, next question. How do you support your top creators? The answers being liking and sharing their content, commenting on their content, mentioning their content to friends, regular Twitch subscription or YouTube membership, occasional Twitch sub or YouTube membership, Patreon, donations, or buying merch. What is going to be most of the support with buttresses? Feeding the algorithm. Liking and sharing, liking and subscribing 70%. You are close, but actually undershot it. 85% of people saying that the way that they support is through liking and sharing. Of course, this is you could select multiple of these. So most people saying that they like and share their content, followed by mentioning their content to friends, colleagues, random Reddit threads, commenting on their content. So most people doing things that don't require money, so just sharing and stuff, which is great because as a content creator, I can tell you this is how you support. This is how you support us through the algorithm. This is how you help us grow, and through growth we get advertisement revenue and so on. So liking, sharing, commenting, giving it to people, this is all very useful stuff to do. And it costs you nothing, costs you nothing but like a few seconds of time. Get in the habit. This is something I do. I'm in the habit of, if I've watched a video and it gets to the end and I like it, it will often autoplay the next video, and I will deliberately go back to the video that I was on to make sure I've hit like and then go to the next video, because it costs you fuck all to do and it is important. Then buying their merch comes in. Of the things you can do with money, buying merch is the most important one to people, because I guess you get something out of it directly. Patreon is a good 30% of people support their creators on Patreon, which is fantastic to see. 25%, 26% saying a regular subscription or membership. Speaking of YouTube membership, I will be starting YouTube memberships really soon because of us discovering that a huge chunk of my audience is on YouTube and not going elsewhere. I was like, I don't really need YouTube membership. It's the same thing as a Twitch subscription, and people can just go to that. But no, apparently people on YouTube stay on YouTube. So I want to give the people on YouTube a way to support me if they want to do so. So I will be starting a YouTube membership option for people. If you are supporting me on Patreon and or Twitch, do not feel the need to also support me with a YouTube membership. It will be basically the same stuff. You'll be getting, it's basically YouTube's version of a Twitch subscription. You can get some like exclusive emotes to use in the chat or something like that. It's not a major deal. It's just a way for me to go, hey, if you are on YouTube and you don't use Patreon or Twitch, then you probably don't know of a way to support me financially. Here's a way, and I appreciate it. Merch has a good you get something, I get something relationship. Yeah. Does commenting feed the algorithm more than liking? It does, yes. For some creators, I just start the video by liking it. Yeah, I do the same. Like if it's a Chris and Jack video, for instance, I guarantee that I'm going to like it because I've never not liked it. I've never not loved a video of theirs. And so I just go like it so that I don't forget later. Or if I get like halfway into a video and I realize I'm still watching, I'm like, oh, well, this is a video that I'm obviously enthralled enough by to like it. So I'll like it now so that I don't forget when it ends. Can't afford to spend money, but I share with my BFF and he can and does donate. And it's appreciated. I want to be very clear as well. If you are not in a financial position to support me or any of your content creators financially, don't feel you need to, and don't feel bad about not doing so. I am part of your entertainment budget, so just consider how much money a month do you spend on a Netflix subscription, or going to the cinema, or going to a museum, or doing entertainment-based things. Those things that you can do after you've spent on rent and food and power bill and electricity and all the other shit, the internet bill. After you've spent all of the important stuff in your life and you have leftover money, if you have leftover money, consider some of that money might be like, hey, how many hours of content am I getting of entertainment from Rob? Do I enjoy his stuff? Do I watch his streams every week? Maybe I give him a couple dollars here and there. That's I'm in that category. So if you don't have enough money to be in that, to have leftover money in that category, and believe me, as a person with 2 degrees, I have been a student for a huge chunk of my adult life, and I understand what it's like to not have any money in that category. If you're in one of those positions, don't feel bad about not supporting me financially. There are plenty of ways to support me not financially. Cool. Yeah, so there's some of the other ways that people support me, which was really interesting to see. Next question is, what type of, well, this is a new category, in fact. What type of TTRPG content do you watch most often? So how interested are you in behind the scenes content? It's going to surprise nobody that over half of people said very interested. Very interested in behind the scenes content. 30% saying interested and 15% saying somewhat interested. Very few people, but not nobody. Still 1% of people said they're not interested at all in behind the scenes content. Next question is, how interested are you in homebrew content? Now this one is interesting. What do you guys think? What do you think? Very interested, somewhat interested, or not at all interested in homebrew content? Smaller percentages than BTS. Homebrew interests me. It is a smaller interest than behind the scenes content, but still pretty good. That is over a third of people saying very interested in homebrew, over a third of people saying interested, and over a quarter of people saying somewhat interested. a larger percentage now, 3% of people saying not at all interested in homebrew. Next question is, how interested are you in a TTRPG related chat or panel or discussion content? So things like my short rest series, or anything where I would where other people, not necessarily just me, but like content in general where people just discuss homebrew, discuss TTRPGs and things. What do you reckon for this one? This one is a not much interest. This is a significant decrease from before. I say not much interest, but like compared to the ones before it. Now we've only down to 17% of people saying very interested in that stuff, 35% saying interested, so it's still quite a lot of people interested. Much huger category of people saying somewhat interested, and a much larger percentage, now we're up to 8% of people saying not at all interested in TTRPG related chat panels. It's interesting that a big chunk are into homebrew, but homebrew was one of the Twitch streams that had fewer views. I found that very interesting as well, Creative Garden. In the previous section, in the previous category, we did ask, what sort of stuff are you interested in? And homebrew was one of the least interesting to people. I think it was the least interesting. People aren't interested in homebrew or my whatever one was related to homebrew. And yet when it came to how interested are you in homebrew content, over a third of people saying very interested and over a third of people saying interested. Doesn't add up. How interested are you in world building content? World building content, this is about the same as the one above it, with a little bit more interest this time. So people are very interested in world building content and interested in world building content and somewhat interested in world building content, but 7% of people are still not at all interested. So it's basically the same as homebrew. Homebrew and world building have a similar level of interest. How interested are you in live play content? So actual play, live play, TTRPG stuff. It's the difference between what do you like and do you like specific thing. Yeah. This one is hugely interested. This one is 45% of people said they were very interested in live play content, with 35% of people saying interested, and down to only 3% of people saying not at all interested. What would be great, I think, is some campaign with more competent and experienced players, something like Dragonlance. Oh my fucking god, I loved it. That would be something like VLDL that brought a lot of us to you, but more you. Yeah, I agree, Oli Nick, and I think that's something that I want to start pursuing with the Viva La Dirty D&D stuff. Like I want to have one shots where we have a wide variety of different players. They are ultimately a comedy group, so I think everything through them will essentially be comedy. But like we've explored a little bit with the Tales of the Misfits, the ability to have content that's not just laugh a minute. I feel like with the Tales of the Misfits, it's helped us to showcase that D&D can be other things, that TTRPGs can be other things, that you as a player don't need to be hilarious in order to have a really good time playing. And I want to just keep exploring that sort of things. I want to have guest players and people who know D&D really well come and join me to play, so that we can showcase what can be done in a game where everybody knows what they're doing. Lots of options and ideas for the future of the D&D channel. If you are interested in live play, what type of live play is most interesting to you? This one, Fancy was upset with how she ended up including the wording of it, because she feels it doesn't really tell us all that much information, because it's kind of just like a catch-all term for everything. The majority of people said, I'm interested in a mixture of emotional and comedic moments, all of the feels, and then something that breaks the tension. And then 30% of people are like comedic chaos. So I kind of see this as just like a binary option. Essentially, it's 30% of people saying, I like Adventures of Azrim style gameplay where it's just comedic chaos and dick jokes, and then 60% of people saying I prefer Tales of the Misfits kind of thing where it's a little bit more dramatic and emotional and invested, and then you can break the tension with comedy and stuff. Which is what I like to see. This is basically the binary options of the two different campaigns that I've run with Viva, I think. You'd actually consider AOA to be the mixture of emotional and comedic? Really? What part of AOA do you reckon is deep emotional connections and feelings? Because I don't think there's a moment of it, really. Like, AOA is definitely in comedic chaos to me. I don't know what's happening, but I love it. That's AOA. That's Adventures of Azarim. That is, the guys are comedians and they're concerned with people that have short attention spans because they are a sketch comedy series, a sketch comedy production studio that has spent the last 11 years making content for people with a 30-second attention span. So they need to grab you and they need to keep you active, they need to work so hard to even keep you watching to the end of a 3-minute video, and they're aware of that. So they're like, well, this is a 30-minute video, and so every 30 seconds, if there's not a dick joke, they put one in. That's kind of their style. And this one feels much more like the ladies' campaign to me. They're uncommon, but one that stands out to me is grandfather's hammer when you had the conversation with Bodger while playing his brother. Yeah, because it's me again. I'm the common denominator. When there is a moment of feels, it's because I'm forcing them to listen to a cutscene or forcing them to listen to an NPC, and I'm trying to inject some of the feels in there. And then it's broken with comedy. Eating a fish dish was pretty deep. Nice. Were these questions also in the YouTube survey? I don't remember answering them there. Yeah, all of these questions were in all of the surveys. As you can tell by most of the people have it. We got 780 responses and 730 responded to this particular question. So Misfits feels like it features even more dick jokes than BA2D. I mean, maybe. Anyway, how interested are you in TTRPG related video games? So like Baldur's Gate, I guess, things like that. Majority of people saying yes, very interested. They are very interested in TTRPG related video games, which bodes well for the fact that our setting book is going to be about how to play D&D but make it feel a little bit more like you're playing a video game, which is going to be interesting. Interested is 30%, somewhat interested 16%, but a good 9% of people saying not at all interested in TTRPG related video games, which is understandable. Which of these do you watch or listen to regularly? VLDL Azarim, Short Rest, BTS Misfits, VLDL Main Channel, BTS of Azarim or Misfits, One Shot Questers, Critical Role, GM Workshop, Dimension 20, Dungeon Dudes, etc., etc., etc. Basically, who else do you listen to? Surprising nobody. VLDL Azarim comes in top place. The majority of 97% of my audience coming from Viva La Dirt League, obviously the majority, an equivalent amount, 97%, would watch what I do with Viva La Dirt League. It would be weird for 97% of people to have found me through Viva La Dirt League and then only 20% of people to watch Viva La Dirt League. So VLDL Azarim is in top place with VLDL Main Channel in second place and Misfits coming in third very closely. BTS of Azarim and BTS of Misfits coming in next and next. So obviously VLDL, 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 VLDL. Twitch Tales coming in a distant sixth place. 4E is video gaming. I do understand that. Finally got caught up on both Misfits and BATD, so I'm on weekly wait for both of them now. Nice. Well, you could go back and watch the Isolation games or the Descent into Avernus while you're waiting. Those are previous campaigns we've done. You could watch the one-shots, the horror one-shot, the sci-fi one-shot, the Ryoko's Guide one-shot, and the Honey, I Shrunk the Peasants one-shot if you are a Viva Plus member. You were interested that the main channel was so high? Interesting. Have you saw a D&D? Have you saw AI D&D with Joe Rogan as DM? I haven't. No. The horror one shot was especially brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm glad you think so. Another interesting thing was that Critical Role was like 2% till we put the survey out to YouTube. Yeah, nobody on Twitch or Discord watched Critical Role at all. Twitch Tales is at 6th. Short Rests are at 7th. The Deerstalker Pictures and One for All is at 8th. Critical Role is at 9th. Ginny D is at 10th. One Shot Questers, Zach Speaks Giant, Dimension 20, Dungeon Dudes, GM Workshop, Dreaded GM, Legends of Avantris, Dead Aussie Gamer, Castleton or Winter's Tales, High Rollers, Cinderblock Sally, Dingo Doodles, Careful Cantrip, Dice Legends, Quincy's Tavern, The Adventure Zone, Roll to Cast, Split the Party, D20 Deathmatch, Mendari, The Eldritch Lawcast, Pixies and Pins, Catchy Cantrips, Lord Gazumba, Lou Boffin, and Ox Venture, D&D Shorts, and no answer. And then below that, there was fewer than 4 people answered each one. Pointy Hat, Stale from the Stinky Dragons, all of these things. So not bad, not bad. Critical Role is also long and hard to watch. Watch off rip cold. Yeah. Like if you're going into it, it's hard to watch it, yeah. CI's community is so large too, I don't get the same feel as smaller communities. Yeah, I get that. Alright, future plans. What content would you like to see Rob do more of? What do you reckon come out top in what content would you like to see Rob do more of? Under OnlyFans, obviously. More of seeing Rob as a player, maybe? Or TTRPGs other than D&D, you reckon will be in first place? Well, let me show you. Whoop. The answer is campaigns, longer than a few episodes. So you want to see me do campaigns. You want to see me do a lot more short series, i.e. 1-shots and 3-shots. You want to see me do more world building content, which goes against kind of the homebrew stuff that we were seeing before, I think, but sure. You want to see me do more short content, YouTube shorts, which is a lot lower than I thought it would be. I thought that this one would be second place. I thought long actual plays would be in top place, and then short content, YouTube shorts, would have been in second. TTRPG discussions, you want to see more of those. Just chattings, i.e. charisma checks. Hi, welcome in. And finally, short rest interviews. And then just a whole bunch of things that could be put into these, I guess, if Fancy had nothing else to do. And then she could probably put these into these and see if it skews any of them upwards or downwards. No. She says no. How many campaigns can a DM run before it becomes extreme overload? More campaigns would risk burnout. They certainly would. If you picked short series or campaigns above, what sort of content will you be interested in? There's too many things to discuss here, so I'll just jump straight to it. D&D 5e is the majority of people's interest, followed by other TTRPG systems like Pathfinder or D&D 3rd edition or any others, Call of Cthulhu's and stuffs. Then we have TTRPG one-pagers like Sexy Battle Wizards, Kaiju Girls, etc., Goat Crashers. Sponsored content like Kickstarter promotions. Hi, go check out the Dice Goblin Kickstarter that's on at the moment. Twitch Tales. More people want to see in short series and campaigns in Twitch Tales. Chat plays D&D, but not Twitch Tales, which unfortunately we had to word this way, but makes actually no sense, because the thing that I found is that people, because Twitch Tales has only done one series so far. There's only been one series of Twitch Tales, which is Apis Hive and Apis' story. People associate Twitch Tales with Apis' story, but Twitch Tales is not Apis' story. Apis' story is the first series of Twitch Tales. There will be, once Apis' story is wrapped up, or maybe even before Apis' story is wrapped up, if we want to take a break from that. More on that to come later. There are other stories we can tell within the world. Twitch Tales is just my way of naming the stream where chat plays D&D, which is why for my American Cancer Society fundraiser one-shot that I ran, that was a one-shot, it was Twitch Tales. It was Twitch Tales American Cancer Society, and it wasn't Apis' story. When we've done a one-shot before where it was the Snow Leopard Artificer, that was Twitch Tales, but it was not Apis' story. Nissa, that was her name. And so for people to say, oh, I want to see Rob do more of chat plays D&D, brackets, but not Twitch Tales, that's not a thing. Chat plays D&D on Rob's channel is called Twitch Tales. And I don't think that's going to ever be obvious to people until we end Apis' story and start a new story and call it Twitch Tales. Twitch Tales. So basically all of the 167 people who want me to do that are also added on to the 202 people who want me to do more Twitch Tales. It's a shame that we didn't think before launching the survey to just put the Twitch Tales option as chat plays D&D, brackets, i.e. Twitch Tales. Anyway, people want to see me fundraising, people want to see me doing sponsored content, people want to see me doing chat plays D&D stuff, and then a whole bunch of stuff that we haven't added into the categories here. How long should Rob's content be? Under an hour, 1 to 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours, 4 to 6 hours, over 6 hours, or any length. When do you think Twitch Tales Apis would end? Like rough years? Unsure and unclear at this point. Fancy and I have been discussing whether next season we take a break from Apis temporarily and like start a season of somebody else, just so that we can get new people involved in Twitch Tales and seeing how it is, because there's the problem of on-ramping when somebody comes to a playlist and sees 100 episodes, each 2 hours long. There's a lot of people that are like, I'm not getting into that. But if they see a new playlist that's like, oh, brand new story, it's only 3 episodes, 2 hours long, like I can get into that. And so it might be a case, which is why we've been doing recaps, and it's why we've been doing like separating them into arcs on their own playlists and stuff. But starting a new series entirely might be interesting. And I was also thinking like, oh, it would be kind of cool to have Apis' story kind of going along in the background and have another story that's in the same part of the world, so you can interact with the same people and interact with the same setting and cities and NPCs and stuff, and you can hear tangentially about this ranger called Apis who's doing some cool stuff. And like you start a new series and you're playing as this new character, and you get invested in that new character as you are in Apis. And then like maybe even interact with Apis at opportunities, and like your stories can cross and things, and just kind of like either pause Apis' story or just like take Apis to being an NPC for the sake of like a single session of. I'm still kind of tossing the idea up and things, but I think it would be fun, and I think people would enjoy the character creations as well, because a lot of Twitch Tales audience weren't around for Apis' character creation, and so that's less of an investment in Apis because they weren't there to create Apis. So it'd be nice to go through the entire process again of like, let's make a new character to introduce into the Twitch Tales world or something. It's a consideration I'm having. Agreed, if I'm watching live, I'm more likely to stay tuned into it. Yeah. Wondered about missing stories that would be around for the PS games. Yeah, because a lot of the Private Sanctum games took place they all took place in the same world. A lot of them took place with things that are tangentially related to the stories that Apis is interacting with. So we could have a character that kind of ties those Private Sanctum games more into Twitch Tales in the world. Anyway, ideas. How long should the content be? Most people saying 1 to 2 hours, with about equal people saying above or below that. So in future, I think we're going to aim for about an hour content on the channel. We're even considering like whether it's worth splitting up Twitch Tales into hour-long videos so that it's less daunting for YouTubers to start picking it up and watching it, so that we've got more retention of people actually watching to the end of a video and things like that. There's all sorts of stuff that I need to take into account regarding like algorithm of my content. How much shorter the content should be, yeah. Like psychologically, is a person more likely to watch a video if it's 59 minutes rather than an hour and 1? Live, I'll stay on for 5 to 6 hours. Recorded, I'll lose attention after 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah. Almost nobody leaving it up to Rob to decide. Yeah, I mean, there's some people saying, like, Rob, just any length of time. 30 minutes to 2 hours, any length would do, as long as Rob wants. The time's up to him. There you go, there's people saying it. Under an hour, it can be longer, just cut it into more episodes. Yeah, that sort of thing. 24 hours, one person said. All right, we're getting to the end of the survey now. Is there anything else you'd like to mention? I don't think there's any reason to go over that on stream. Let me just come off of it real quick to just double check if there's anything else. No, there's nothing else on there to discuss. Anything else in the other graph to discuss? Binge watching, the length of stuff, the time zone people are in, the locations they're in. None of that's necessary to show off on stream, I don't think. So there's your survey. Hope you found it interesting as I did going through it all. Thank you all for the people who filled it in as well. That was much appreciated. It gave Fancy and I some real major insights into who the community is, how you're made up, what sort of content to focus on in future, and because to be clear, I am always going to follow my own interests. I'm not ever gonna be, well, never say never, but I'm not bothered about chasing an algorithm to the point where I am upset with my own stuff. I know a lot of content creators. I have met a lot of content creators through Gen Con, through PAX Australia, through GaryCon. I've gotten to know a lot of people. And I know that a lot of people, especially successful ones, they don't like what they do. They're not fans of their own content. The way that some people talk about their own content is in the way of like, I have to do this because that's what YouTube likes. I have to do this because it's required to stay successful on TikTok. I have to do this for the Instagram Reels. I'd rather be making this content, but that's not ever supported on YouTube algorithms, so I have to make this content instead. And I don't want to get to that stage. If I don't enjoy a series that I'm doing, I'm going to stop it. Like Robert Rants was doing quite well. People enjoy the Robert Rants series, but I realized halfway into it, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be known as the guy who's ranting about the game that he likes. I don't want to be putting negativity out, even if it is in the sake of constructive criticism, which is why I was like, I'm just going to record the Robert Raves and I'm going to put it out and say Robert Rants is over. I'm done with making content that is revolving around me ranting about the game. When I was doing my Baldur's Gate series, that was doing really well. The Baldur's Gate comparison list, it was doing well enough that I have considered maybe I should do that again. But every time I sat down to try and make more of them, I felt it was a chore. I felt like, I wasn't excited to do them. And so I was like, then don't do it. So I'm not going to take the survey results and go, well, because they've said that they would like this content and they'd like this content, then even if I don't want to do it, I'm going to do it because they want it. No, that's not. I'm never going to go that way. But it is going to be like a consideration that I take into account when in like one element of a much larger pot of things where I go, oh, this could work. Oh, and actually, this could work. And if I make it a little longer, it would satisfy what people wanted in this part of the survey or whatever. Like it's something I'll take into account, but it's not something that's going to entirely change how I choose to, which content I choose to do. That's why I think your content's so enjoyable, because it's so genuine. Thank you. As long as you can put bread on the table and you've got a roof above your head, you should not force yourself to do something that takes a toll on you. I am 100% in agreement. I am earning enough to pay the bills. I'm earning enough to pay my mortgage. I don't have a huge amount of savings, especially after fucking traveling for 2.5 months. I don't have a huge amount of savings, but I've got enough that if an emergency comes up, I can deal with it. Like if something happens, I can deal with it. I'm not in the 1%, but I am wealthier than most, like the majority of people in the world. So I'm not going to complain that like I'm impoverished, because I'm not. And at that point, I'm like, I don't need to be wealthier than this necessarily. Having access to more funds would help me to get more people on board. That would help me to like have somebody to control my social media or whatever. or it would allow me to get fancy on board like full time or something like that. Like if I had more funds, I'd be able to do more with it, which is great. But at the same time, I'm not going to ever complain about where I'm at. And so I'm being in such a privileged position as a content creator. It allows me to really be picky and choosy about what work I do. I don't have to follow the algorithm because I can just follow what I'm enjoying, and currently it's paying the bills.
All hail the algorithm gods. Comment, like, and subscribe.